Today we're making sausage casserole and we'll take the opportunity to talk about cooking sausages on the stovetop in general, starting with the cookware, the casserole dish. Its biggest strength also happens to be its biggest weakness, heat retention. It takes at least 2 to 3 minutes for the cast iron to heat through, which is exactly what you want for the sausages to have a meaningful browning but not stick excessively. So take your time, set it to medium-high heat for the whole thing to warm through. Once the handle is getting hot to touch, a generous amount of high smoke point neutral oil goes in. Now we add the sausages. It's very important to not crowd the pan and let them form one even layer, ideally with gaps in between so that steam does not get trapped in excessively and start steaming the sausages. What we're trying to achieve here is A, we want to cause the Maillard reaction, what's going to make the meat taste meaty, the caramelization, what's going to give us depth. Even though we've gone through the effort to heat up the pan to make sure it doesn't stick excessively, it will still likely to stick in the beginning. The key is to not disturb them for at least 2 to 3 minutes. Once they've developed the caramelization, they will most likely unstick themselves, and then we can turn it and brown the other sides. Even though geometrically they have one seamless side, culinarily you're much better off treating them as if they have 4 sides when you're making browning decisions. If you continue to rotate them, they will never brown as properly as they have now. Once they have achieved this Instagram-worthy color, we fish out the sausages to rest. And at this point, the thickest part of your sausages should be above 67 degrees Celsius, meaning, given the resting, they would go above 70, remaining juicy, yet cooked through, which is exactly what we want and what's going to give us flexibility in terms of how and when we want to serve the dish. Now, we lower the heat and we skim off some of the excess fat to mop up all these beautiful burn bits, all the fronds, all the flavors. We add some aromatic vegetables. Today we're using flavors inspired by our homemade black bean sauce, but you can add any aromatics you fancy. Carrot, celery, onion, dealer's choice. If you want more of a bite in the finished product, you can do strips. If you want a more uniform texture, you can dice them to match the size of the beans. We season with some salt that will help them draw out their moisture. The reason why we added the green bell peppers first is that I like my green bell peppers really cooked down and wilted. So instead of the fresh, grassy note you normally associate with green bell peppers, you get the deep, earthy sweetness from them, not dissimilar to what you would associate with a gumbo. And the moisture they release would start deglassing the pan, mopping up all those beautiful flavors that we just developed with the sausages. That we slice an onion, add a lot of caramelized sweetness to the casserole dish. And to reinforce the earthiness of the green bell and add a wonderful kick, optional, we slice the jalapeno chili. Add a generous amount of garlic for some savory depth and caramelized sweetness. Now, as you can see from the steam, we're evaporating the water content of our aromatic vegetables, concentrating the sweetness and flavors, developing depth, and mixing all their flavors together. Once the green bell is no longer green and the garlic is no longer white, we're ready for our liquid ingredients. In this case, we're going to use some soy sauce, which goes extremely well with the green bell and the garlic and the black bean that we'll be introducing later. But again, please use the recipe as a guideline. Make this once and make it your own. Use whatever ingredients you fancy. Take the opportunity to once again deglass the pan, mopping up all the beautiful flavors. And now we're ready for our beans. Today we're using canned black beans. But you can use any canned beans. Soak some dry beans the night before, soak some lentils half an hour before. The world's your oyster. And we mix everything together, making sure very flavoursome oil is now coating our beans. Evaporate a bit of their surface moisture, concentrate a bit of their flavours, even hoping for a bit of Maillard reaction. Now we add just enough water to cover everything and bring this back to a boil. Taste, just the seasoning. Bearing in mind most sausages are salty by themselves. That's perfect. At this point, we want to give whatever bean you choose to use at least 10 minutes to simmer. So lid on. After 10 minutes, dinner's ready. And we have my favorite aspect of the whole recipe. Of course, you can put the sausages in and go straight to the dining table. But if you're cooking this as a hosting dish or you plan to have dinner later, put this in the oven, 150 Celsius, uncovered. The longer, the tastier. You just need to periodically top it up with water. And 10 minutes before serving, put the sausages, which are perfectly cooked already and you can store in the fridge, back in, just to heat through, straight to the dining table. And you have a piping hot sausage casserole whenever you're ready.